Hello everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome again to our course, the Introduction to Communication Science. After we learned about the levels of communication yesterday, today we will start discussing the studies at each level. So in this chapter, we will start with a study in interpersonal communication. Why not we learn from the intrapersonal communication levels? Because I think that the study of the two levels are the same. At the interpersonal level, one of the studies that can affect how the interpersonal relationship is about the self-concept, and then the second is perception. Everyone has their own self-concept, everyone has their own perception. The self-concept and then the perception in us will affect how it produces messages as communicators, of course, and it will affect too how the process of receiving messages as communicant. So please refer the following explanation in this video. Before we discuss one by one, so the self-concept and perception are actually related. The two of them will influence each other. If the self-concept is what we think about ourselves, the perception is what we think about something outside ourselves. The self-concept is dynamic. It will change according to the event, to our experience, and then what we feel about the experience. This is a table that contains various definitions of self-concept. Yeah, according to the expert, of course. You can read for yourself, but the point is at the conclusion. The definition of self-concept is as simple as what we think about ourselves. In social science, actually the self-concept have a lot of versions. For today, we only learn 3 versions of the self-concept. For the first is according to Gamble, and then the second is Johari Window, and then the last version is Cooley. The first version of the self-concept is according to Gamble. Gamble explained that in a self-concept there are 2 aspects which he called self-image and then self-esteem. Self-image is a picture of ourselves which is usually based on a status, role, or the words you usually use to describe yourself. For example, when someone asks, "Who are you?" When you answer, maybe "I was a student." So, "I was a student" is your self-image. Or another example, if maybe in a social media, if you fill in your bio account in your social media, for example Instagram, with a certain words that describe yourself, it is the self-image too. Meanwhile, the self-esteem is our assessment of ourselves. If we like ourselves or we dislike ourselves, we can accept ourselves or we cannot accept ourselves, how much we do value ourselves. So the self-esteem involving the feeling, if self-image doesn't. For example, when you don't like maybe your body shape, it indicates that you have a low self-esteem. When you don't like your angry self, that is also a self-esteem assessment too. But if you love yourself, if you love your body, if you love your feeling, or maybe you love your characteristic, it is also the example of self-esteem. So, according to Gamble, the combination of self-image and self-esteem will determine how your self-concept is. The point is on the self-esteem. If you have a low self-esteem, maybe you will have the negative self-concept. And if you have a high self-esteem, you will have the positive self-concept. The second version of self-concept is according to the Johari Window. Johari Window, made by Joseph Love and Harrington Ingham, depicts self-concept like a self-awareness. So, how our self-concept depends on how aware we are of ourselves, how we know ourselves, how other people know us, and then how we can explore ourselves. As you can see on your screen, that the Johari Window divided our self-concept into 4 areas. The first is open area, the second is hidden area, the third is blind area, and then the last area is the unconscious. Open area is the area where we share about our information with the public. For example, when someone asks your name and then you give your name, so the information of your name is included in the open area, or maybe something that we put on social media accounts. And then the second is hidden area. Hidden area is the area whose information we hide. So yeah, we know about something, but other people don't know it. For example, something that we don't want others to know, maybe about our bad experience. The third area is blind area. This is an area that kind of a judgment by the other people. But the judgment is something that we do not predict. For example, if you have a friend, someday your friend say that you are the sensitive person, and then you think that no, I don't feel that way, I'm not a sensitive person. The information about us that we are the sensitive person includes in blind area. So we can say that the blind area is the area that other people know but we don't know about it. And then the last area is unconscious. This is an area that other people don't know and we don't know too. Actually, Johari Window illustrates our self-concept like an iceberg phenomena. Yeah, we can say this is an iceberg. And then this is the ocean. The visible area in here are the open, hidden, and then blind area, where the areas that are not visible are the unconscious part. So the unconscious area can be explored and discovered through the many things we learn. For example, if we try something that we never did before, it will reveal bit by bit about the unconscious area. The third version of our self-concept today is Looking Glass Self. Looking Glass Self, made by Charles Harton Cooley. He described that our self-concept is like a looking glass self phenomenon. And then our self-concept will develop with an interpersonal interaction with the context of the society. There are 3 components of the looking glass self. For the first is when we imagine how we must appear to the other. And then the second is when we imagine how the react of the other people about our appearance. And then the last thing is how we develop ourselves through the judgment of the others. Looking glass self is a phenomenon that we do every day, consciously or unconsciously. This is how the looking glass self works. If we stand in front of a mirror and then we start to imagine how we appear to other people. Maybe you think that, oh yeah, so this is how I look in another eye. And then we imagine how the judgment from the people about our appearance. If we think that we have a positive judgment for the other people, we will evaluate our appearance, and then our self-concept will enhance. In another hand, if we think that we have a negative judgment from the other people, our self is diminished. Our second material is perception. Like what I said before, that perception is what we think about something outside ourselves. It could be about the other people, about the objects, or maybe about an idea. If in the self-concept, there is no wrong self-concept or right self-concept. But in the perception, there is wrong perception and then right perception. Yeah, perception can be wrong. Usually, the formation of the perception is closely related to our experience and then about what we feel and then our self-concept. There are several types of misperception or perception failure. The failure of the perception in here, we can make it like a guide so that we no longer experience this misperception again. The first is attribution mistakes. This is a misperception that occurs because we only judge something that is visible. For example, if we have a friend on Instagram, he always posts something funny, delicious food, holiday, and then we judge him as the person whose life is perfect. Even though behind everything, he also a human. He has a problem that may be very heavy. So in order to prevent these attribution mistakes, we should judge something not only based on visible things. Things that are not visible, like a motive's reason, should be considered. The second is a mistake that called halo effect. Halo effect is a mistake when we judge one person only by one part or by one incident. For example, if you have a friend, one day he lied to you, and then you immediately label him a liar for forever. After that incident, maybe you should consider all his words to be lies, even though it may not. The third is stereotype. Stereotype is different with halo effect. If the halo effect is a judging on one person, the stereotype is a wrong assessment or wrong judgment of a group. For example, of the group based on gender, ethnicity, and then culture. For example, if you ever heard about the stereotype that say women are the emotional creature that cannot think logically, while men are the most logical creature, or something like that. And then the fourth is prejudice. This is the continuation of the stereotype, already leading to action. So yeah, this is the worst form of stereotype. And then the last misperception is shock culture. This is a misperception that occurs because of cultural differences. As we know that each culture will form or have a preference in a different perception about something. So if we move to an area that have a different culture, usually when we adapt, we will experience a cultural shock or shock culture. That's all our material today. So if you have a question, you can ask me using a WhatsApp group or maybe using open learning. So thank you for your attention. See you next week. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.